Topic about AI, about what's real and what's hype, and trying to distinguish between the two. And as a business person, that isn't always the easiest thing to do. And so that was a little bit of the context of our last conversation. And then there were a bunch of questions from the audience that we didn't have a chance to get to. And so that was what kind of led to why we're here today, to go through some of the topics we had started to talk about there, but then give you all an opportunity to talk to us. So with that, I will do a brief introduction of our panelists, and then we will kick things off. Justin Grammons is on my far left, and Steve Zielinski is to my near left, and they're business partners. We'll talk to you a little bit about that. Again, Recursive Awesome in the AI space, and then Steve's also the CTO at Clario, and there are some other Clario folks in the audience, right? We got one here, another one over there. And so if you hear something that Steve says and you'd like to learn a little bit more about Clario, you can see those folks out. Justin, in addition to doing Recursive Awesome, has Lab 651, and Justin and I have been friends and business contacts for many, many years. So thank you for coming back, first of all.
Yeah, thank you.
And then I want you both to tell me a little bit more about your background, fill in some of the cracks, add a little bit of color. But before I do that, I wanted to set the whole thing up today. Justin sent me an email just a couple hours ago about a Goldman Sachs report. Anybody here heard of Goldman Sachs? Oh, yeah. Okay, a couple people. Anyway, 93% report positive impact from AI, yet only 14% of companies have fully integrated AI into their core operations. So in other words, hey, we're seeing good stuff, but we don't really know how to bring it all in or how to make it work right. And then last but not least, 73% of those people said training and resources would have helped them better and more successfully implement AI. So that is why they are here today, to help you know what to do and implement it better. And then regarding that report, if anybody'd like to get access to that, reach out to me. Anyway, so with that as the starting point here, Justin, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit more about your background, and then Steve will hop over to you.
Yeah, sure. And thanks, Rick, and thanks everyone here coming out today at Club E. I always have a lot of fun just meeting folks. I always try and attend every monthly meeting that I can. It's a great network. Rick talked a little bit about, one hat that I wear is the entrepreneur space, right? So I run a couple different organizations here focused specifically on technology and AI. The other sort of leg of my three-legged stool is I teach at the University of St. Thomas. So I teach courses there in artificial intelligence and machine learning in their software and data science department. And then I think overall, I got like the educator bug, right? I really love building communities, and I love having people sort of share their knowledge. So in 2019, started a nonprofit called Applied AI, and we do conferences and meetups. I have a podcast, newsletters, a YouTube channel, all that type of stuff. And you can find that out at appliedai.mn. We have a huge community. I see a number of faces here that I know have been to our events. So definitely check us out. We are the largest AI-focused community here in the Midwest by far. We have more than 5,000 members. So we have multiple events during the month. So,
and what's the website for that, Justin?
What's the what?
The website for that to steer people?
Yes, appliedai.mn.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Steve.
And I'm Steve Zielinski. By training, I'm an electrical engineer. Kind of got into the whole AI space a long time ago, especially in AI time, about 2015. At the time, I was really looking at it in the medical device world for machine learning, so things like cardiac diagnosis and neuromodulation and that sort of stuff. So found myself well positioned in 2022 when all of us were surprised by the sort of sudden emergence of generative AI. And since then, really have been making my living doing AI-related stuff.
And how did you guys meet?
Good question. Probably through Applied AI. Yeah, and also some of the general medical device through INCOSI, some of the general technology conferences.
All right, so there's another plug for Applied AI and why you should go. And why you should come here, I actually even introduced some people who ended up getting married. So there's all kinds of interesting things that happen here at Club E. So
Yes.
Applied AI or Club E, two of the best networking things in town. Anyway, regarding a question to kick things off, and again, I'll just ask a couple and then open it up to whoever would like to raise their hand. Let's start with just at a high level, how does one actually create a meaningful AI strategy?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's kind of asking a company, how do you sort of bring electricity into your organization, right? Because it's a broad technology that can be used in a number of different ways. I'll give a couple maybe key starting points, and I know Steve's got some thoughts on this as well. But one of the things that we definitely try and focus on with organizations is forget about the technology for a second. Like, what are the business problems you're trying to solve, right? So a lot of organizations get wrapped up in the idea of, should I use Claude, or should I use Gemini, or should I use Copilot, whatever it is. I think the strategy should be, what are things that you are doing within your business where you think they can be optimized, right? Where humans are spending a lot of time doing mundane tasks, monotonous things, and things that maybe could be improved if they maybe had a better coworker with them, which is what I think the other piece of this is. We really got to think about AI here. It's a generative tool. Steve talked about generative AI. This is what we're talking about here, is actually helping people generate new things, generate new ideas, and actually be able to help them create things. So with that type of a lens, I think, is I really try and have businesses step back for a second and figure out, okay, what are some of these areas within your business that we could have quick wins? And a huge enterprise company, some of the ones that Steve and I work with, I think is going to have a different strategy than someone who's a small, medium-sized business, right? A company that is less than 10 employees there are a lot of things that you can kind of, in a lot of ways, sort of not worry about right now. Like, let's actually focus on getting things done. So yeah, that's just an initial idea that I think I try and consult companies with. You have anything else to
Great,
add?
Steve.
Yeah, just echo the from lean or agile. You're looking for where your flow is blocked in your business. Where are the bottlenecks? Where's the business constrained? Is kind of the first place to look. And then the second way we talk about AI is horizontal implementations and vertical implementations. So horizontal, what we mean is you're giving AI to your employees and asking them to use it essentially how they want to in their daily work. The second way, vertical, is we're actually looking at a workflow, and we're actually trying to get the AI to do the work for the employee, or have the employee supervise the AI doing the work. So those are the two broad strategies, horizontal and vertical. Horizontal is great. The big payoffs are when you can do vertical.
How about flipping it around and say, hey, there's some issues. So what are some common mistakes folks make, pitfalls that people can try to avoid, and how and where should people focus their investments?
So the first most common mistake we see is people just buy subscriptions to ChatGPT and tell their employees, hey, you now have a subscription to ChatGPT. And no one knows what to do with that. And we can say that with confidence because we're going into some of these organizations with people that should be the true technologists, the R&D engineers, the software people, the electrical engineers, the mechanical engineers, and they aren't adopting it. And if they're not adopting it, the chance that you just hand a subscription and tell somebody they have access to it and that they'll know what to do with it is about zero. So you really do have to spend some time training people on what this new thing is and how to use it.
Yeah, I think there's other components to this too as well. I mean, one is analysis paralysis, right? I'm going to wait next month and find, because something better is going to be coming out, which things have changed a lot over the past couple of months, but a lot of it is just getting people just started, right? Use a tool that you might already have within your organization, because a lot of these skills that you'll learn over time are actually pretty transferable, right? With regards to if you're using OpenAI or you're using Claude or Gemini or whatever it is, you can transfer those skills. So just getting started. I think the other thing is maybe people try and bite off more than they can chew, right? They might have read something where, oh, look at this organization, look at this particular company, they orchestrated all this type of stuff, and you sort of read about it, and you're like, wow, and now I got to sort of go whole hog into this thing and completely change the way that my business works to sort of follow this model. And I've always been, I mean, I've been in technology for 25 years, and I've always been like, let's just pick little small stuff to begin with first. Find the part of the workflows where you can have the most return on investment, and let's just focus on those. And you will work your way into building these multi-agentic systems. I know we're going to talk a lot about that as well. But just, again, biting off small pieces. Some organizations want to sort of boil the ocean.
I'm going to add one more thing because it's a really common mistake, which is people think, oh, I've got Copilot, right? Microsoft is giving me Copilot over on the right side here, right? And if people want to use AI, they can use Copilot. Copilot sucks, everybody. Okay. It is not the answer. So, common mistake. Don't do that.
I like that. I think I know what we're going to title this event when we put it up online. Copilot sucks. All right. Kmart sucks too, according to the Rain Man movie. Anyway, Justin,
Yes.
you were going to say something?
No, I mean, I guess what I was going to say was it does. I was definitely going to agree with that. But the other thing that I have seen is people have tried a tool maybe 6 months ago or what have you, and they've said this thing doesn't work, right? This is causing me more pain, more headache, and I'm just going to not use it, right? And specifically in the software world, I think I've seen this a lot. I've seen engineers saying this thing can't write code, and they tried that 6 months ago, and I'm like, have you tried that today? So what I encourage people to do is you might have had a poor experience, and that could be caused in a couple different ways. One is maybe you didn't choose the right model, right? And even within ChatGPT, you can choose different models that you want to use. And so these thinking models are the ones that more and more, as Steve and I say, companies, you should start using these, right? Because you're going to get better output. And that's a user interface problem. Like they've just not made it, easy for people to sort of choose those higher level models. And then the other thing is they're just getting better and better, and you might hear about something new. And by default, a lot of these won't even choose the latest model, right? So Anthropic will give you the one that is the least costly to them. But yet you can go in there and you can choose the next one up and you'll get much, much better performance. So it's little tricks like that maybe people haven't experienced and they kind of write it off.
Okay. All right, let's pause there. I'm going to look out here and see if somebody wants to chime in. I have other things which I can get to, but Eric looks like he's going to ask our first question, the brave man, Eric.
Great.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks, John. OpenClaw, do you trust enough to put in your personal production equipment, servers, phone, whatever it is? And how do you manage the little lobsters that come out of this mess?
Okay, so the question was for somebody who maybe couldn't hear it and for the video is OpenClaw. First of all, tell people what it is and then if it's a mess or not based on Eric's perspective and or question.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, it's an open source project that anyone can basically take and install and run. And what it does is it has free reign to whatever hardware it's on. And the thing is, when you say free reign, it can literally do everything. It can literally delete your files. It can literally send emails for you. It could literally text for you over the internet. It can do whatever. And the beauty of it is also the scarcity thing of it. The thing that's scared about it is all of those things that it can do. But what they have done with this project is they basically have built an installable that you can put on your laptop, your desktop, whatever it is, whatever piece of hardware that you want, and just sort of let it go. Now, again, it's in the open source community, and what's been really interesting is now anyone can basically run this, and we're all learning sort of what this is going to feel like when these things just kind of have free reign to do whatever they want, right? Whatever AI sort of can reach out and do, it's going to have that capability to do it. And it's gone through a series of name changes, right? I think it was Claudebot, then it was Moltbot for a while, and now it's basically OpenClaw. And I personally, I guess the question was, do I run it on my own hardware? Like my laptop? No. I do have people in my organization that have run it what's called Docker. They basically run it in their own little Dockerized container, and they are very particular with regards to like what they give it access to, even within the Docker container. Because if you give it access to maybe what we call API keys, if it can actually go out and start using Claude or OpenAI on your behalf, you might wake up the next day and you've got a $300 bill. Right, this thing basically just ran away. Right, it might actually take those keys and just send them off to China. Right, because it thought it had to. Right, so that's the worry about having a system that is completely open to do whatever it is. It's very, very powerful, but it's also very, very scary with regards to what information you give it. Now the other side of that is like I run it on my own little dedicated piece of hardware. I have a little NVIDIA desktop computer that I basically run it on, and I give it access to only what I think it needs to have access to. But the flip side of that is these things are really powerful only because they have access to all that stuff, right? And so you have to basically sort of, again, you sort of work with it and realize, what am I feeling comfortable enough with regards to giving it to? And what the best thing about OpenClaw that I would say is it has woken the industry up into what's possible. So the features that OpenClaw has, now Claude is starting to put in. And actually, NVIDIA has actually launched their own thing called NemoClaw is what it's called. And so you're seeing enterprises see the value of what we're talking about. This is super, super powerful, right? Like I can literally take out my phone and I can send a text message and instruct it, go ahead and start learning about Rick Brimacombe, right? And it'll churn away for a couple minutes and then it'll send me a message back. Here's your information, we're ready to go. And when I get home, I can basically flip open and I can read it. And I can say, no, that doesn't seem like that's good enough. Actually send me more information. Or now I want to, you can send any task you want off to this thing, which I think is super cool, because what it's allowing us to sort of think about is that's what the true power of AI is you no longer have to sit in front of your screen and type something in and then just sit there and wait for it, right? This is literally your own assistant. You can send a text message off to it. It will reply back to you in 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it needs to do. And you don't even need to be very specific. These are the things we'll sort of talk about. I'm getting a little bit more into the details of that. But the things that you have to tell it now become more and more high-level tasks. And they're becoming intelligent enough to sort of run away. So that's my feeling on OpenClaw. I think it's still very, very much in the geek domain. I don't advise people to really go out and I'm just going to install it on my laptop. Because I think what you're going to see, and you already are seeing, is companies are taking all of that power and they're putting it into their products. And I would feel more comfortable running it through Claude or OpenAI. That's my answer, but I don't know, Steve?
Yeah, so we were talking about this a little bit before lunch, and I mentioned you ought to go and look at what OpenClaw is, no question, because it is a peek into the future, right? I agree with Justin, though. Don't just go and install it. You're going to have a security nightmare. I also agree with Justin that we've seen, especially Anthropic with Claude and Cowork, begin to put the features that you find in OpenClaw together in a more secure and user-friendly approach, right? So know what OpenClaw is. Know that it's the first thing that really innovated in this always-on digital assistant landscape, but be cautious about just trying to install it and run it.
Okay, over there. Yes.
So how would a small business, 10 employees or less, go about saying, let's take the vertical approach, let's take one process, let's do it once in a row, and you got a baby boomer type leader that just doesn't want to learn this shit. So are there consulting firms or places to go to say, here's some money, here's what I want you to do, and let me not have to learn.
Okay, two things. Just going to repeat it over here, but more importantly for the video. So when somebody searches on does a certain product suck or not, we're going to get the full question on that. Anyway, for small businesses, 10 people or less, picking one vertical to solve a problem, what's the process that could be fixed or enhanced? And then we got the baby boomers, like some of us in the room that maybe aren't up the curve quite as much. How does the small business get their arms around this?
Well, I mean, you hire us, to be completely frank. Yeah, so that's exactly the service that we offer, is to basically go into organizations. And I mean, I think if it's something that you're not interested in, delegate. Which is great. And we attack. I mean, every problem has a sort of core, ways in which you can use AI. But what I oftentimes do is step back and say, is this the best use of AI, anyways? Right? I mean, there are a number of things where just standard programs and deterministic output, these are maybe things that you maybe have heard about, but AI can kind of go off the rails if not constrained enough. We take a look at the business problem first and say, does generative AI actually fit in this case? If it does, then Steve and I can work with your team to specifically figure out the right workflow and the right prompts, skills, tools. These are all things that we can build and integrate into, Claude or OpenAI for you.
Hold any other thoughts just for a second. I want to take one of our other questions because it's directly relevant. What are one or two of the highest impact use cases that you all either see or would recommend?
So anything that in your business where you've got paper coming in or forms coming in, for example, RFPs, right? You can now respond to RFPs in 1/10 of the time that you used to, which opens up a whole new set of business opportunities for you, right? You can, and Justin's got a better story about this, but if you can process that RFP and respond, you're doing much better. If you've got forms that are coming in from another business, right, and you just need somebody, you're watching somebody in your organization that is processing that email, and maybe a lot of what they're doing is just cutting and pasting the email into your system of record or your SaaS system, whatever that is. That's another great opportunity where that person isn't adding any value. They're just mechanically moving data from one system to another. Well, stop that, right? Use that person for something better than being a, mechanical cut and paste operative.
Paper pusher. Yeah, question right here.
Great point. I'll follow up, Rick, on yours and on Tim's. I do AI assessments, consulting for a living. There's a lot of places it touches, like you said. And because I am one of those baby boomer guys, everybody I talk to knows they should do it, but they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, so when I kind of listen to you two guys, it's like, okay, let's put me as CEO. And then when you tell me what you just told me with paper pushing, I go to my people, and there is no way in a small, medium-sized business I'm going to go to them, because it sounds to me like automation, which to many CEOs sounds like I'm going to get rid of people, okay? And then all you hear about, the fear of AI is I'm going to lose my job, right? So I'm surprised you guys haven't really talked about that to this point, because to me, that is the number one thing that a baby boomer CEO like me, and so my follow-up question to that is, how are you going to sell this stuff? Whatever it is, right? There's 14,000 AI tools, and you say, well, you hire us. You go into consulting. Okay, you just came to me, and you told me not to push paper, and I'm telling you, I'm not doing that because I'm going to lose employees, and my business is going to go out. So
Okay. Again, for the video's purposes, the main fear that people have is about losing either their job or, as a CEO, business manager, trying to steer people towards something that they may fear losing their job. And that actually is the most common thing we've heard in the Club E community. So it's a great question. And it's something we have talked about in the past, but let's revisit it here.
So I know exactly what you should do. Now, I'm not sure you'll be able to do it, but let's start. If you're running your own shop and you're the CEO and you don't have a board to report to, it's very easy. You're going to look at those people and you're going to say, look, I guarantee that if you work yourself out of a job, by implementing this AI stuff, if you end up not having a job anymore, I'm personally going to guarantee you that I'm going to find something else for you to do. And it won't be hard, by the way. As the number of things that you could do as a CEO, I'm sure you've got a huge backlog of things that you think you should be doing to grow your business that people could do better, right? Second, if you're in a business and you do have a board of directors, you should clear this with the board. You should say, look, I want this business to become more effective and efficient. And to do that, I want to give this guarantee to my employees that if through the implementation of AI, they work themselves out of a job, they automate their own jobs away, which I want to encourage them to do, I want to give them a guarantee that they are not going to be fired.
I like it.
Yeah. I second all that. I also, I guess I would put myself in the mindset of that person. Do they really enjoy cutting and pasting things between spreadsheets and copying emails? Like, is that the best use of their intellectual time, right? And the fact of the matter is they are getting automated. There's no, I hate to say it, in a bad way, but it's not a valuable use within the business. So you really got to be honest with them. And say, look, this is why we have technology. The whole reason that we have this is to actually be able to improve it. The other thing is, I mean, my thinking is once things get moving faster, you should be able then to take in more work, right? Steve and I are working with an insurance company right now, and there's a lot of paper going on with regards to claims information that comes through. And they fully recognize that there are more claims coming through than the amount of people that they have on staff. It's just the fact of the matter. So they can either work at their governor, basically their threshold of wherever they're at right now, or they can implement this new tool, and now their company can work even faster. And so they're not laying people off. They're not coming into that intention, and everyone that's there understands that. What they realize is I have a backlog of things that I can't get to for a week. Let's try and bring that down to at least a couple days. I saw another question out there. Yeah.
Here.
The introvert, thanks for your time. A lot of the conversation is about efficiency in processes. Is there anything out there that provides some new capabilities or things that we hadn't thought of that this can help provide?
Okay, again, for the video, most of what's happening now is efficiency and process improvement. How do we kind of go one step further? In other words, be more creative about what we're trying to do?
I love the question, and often it's an area that people don't explore enough. You can have full conversations with this thing about, hey, I want you to brainstorm with me 5, 10 different ways that we could grow our business, right? What should I be doing differently to grow this business? And let it come back and tell you, give you a set of ideas. We've worked with engineers that have given a problem to the LLM, and the LLM came back and said, oh, you're trying to do a pull test. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing this other thing. One of the very underutilized ways you can engage with an LLM is have it ask you questions, right? Like, what are the ideas that you've had that you haven't gotten to yet to grow your business?
Yeah, no, the whole idea of a creative partner, and I think the other idea is just the other piece of this is what I'm thinking of is quality, right? How can your employees or yourself communicate better, have a more quality interaction with their customers, how they could use AI to do that. And they shouldn't be taking things verbatim from it, but they should certainly iterate with it, right? Some very simple AI tool that maybe everyone has used before, that's been around forever, is Grammarly. Right? I am a much, much better writer due to Grammarly, right? And I communicate my ideas much, much better because of that, because it has helped me suggest how I restructure sentences, right? So yeah, that's the other side of this. It's not all about efficiency and automation. It's also about building better, I guess, better quality output collaboratively.
Josh, I saw you over there.
Thanks, guys. Question. You get brought into situations a lot, consultants. The demand for more AI is huge in the small business community. What do you wish they would do first before bringing you in for discovery?
So the question was, what can a business owner do first to basically make themselves as ready as possible to work with these guys?
Justin said it earlier. I said it too, right? Don't bring us in to do AI, right? Tell us what your business problem is, right? What is it that you actually want to solve? AI might be an appropriate tool to do it, but maybe not.
Yeah, I would say the other thing is some companies don't even have their process written down at all, right? And so I've definitely talked to a couple different businesses where it's all very much internal knowledge, right? It's basically best practices that have sort of grown organically, but no one's actually defined how this business process works and even where that data lives. And those are hard things to do, as like a business. There's a lot of businesses that are just, it's all tribal knowledge. And so when you have businesses that are all run on tribal knowledge, when you try and train an LLM or train a system to do this, you can't just throw it all in there and say, okay, figure it out. Maybe someday, right, we'll have AI that'll do that. But oftentimes with the organization, you make sure you have that data, you have access to the data, you have access to the various steps, and you've sort of thought through and actually sort of documented in some way sort of what people do today. Because that makes it a lot easier. Once you have that, then we can start building these agents and we can start building these flows and all that type of stuff. So that's sort of square one, is getting the data, getting the process documented.
So I'm going to give you another story, right? From we're working with a major insurance company. They said, you know what? We have this application. It's a Windows application. We want you to upgrade this and put it out on the web instead. And they didn't give us access to any of the users, right? It's like, well, I mean, we can put this thing up on the web, but we have no idea if the users even like the way it's constructed, and you haven't given us the information about what are the users trying to actually accomplish with this thing. Maybe there's a dozen different ways that we could improve this. So this disconnect from the users is a mistake, and people need to like get that prepped and like, okay, what is the job you're actually trying to accomplish?
Over there.
Yeah, hey, thanks guys. You know, as mentioned before, there's a lot of investment going on, but the adoption is still pretty low. I mean, I've been reading about ROI, and that's becoming a theme of AI adoption right now, is getting the ROI. How do you guys think about ROI, and how do you communicate that to your customers?
So the question was about ROI and how do you measure it, which is one of our questions that we're not going to get to today, but for the video, just to repeat it, how do you measure ROI, and especially when the benefits aren't necessarily financial on the front end?
So a couple quick thoughts on that. One, ROI a lot of times is measured in time, right? So maybe it's a time savings and maybe it doesn't flow directly to dollars. But as we all know, right, time is money. So that's one place. The other thing that's really happened on ROI is it's the eye that's moved, right? So suddenly projects that were maybe multi-million-dollar projects are now accomplishable in the tens of thousands of dollars in investment. And so that changes the equation right there, right? All of a sudden you can do things that you never would have considered doing before because you knew it was going to be several $million.
Yeah, I mean, so the other thing is a lot of it is still self-reported, right? You basically ask the people that are doing the job, how do you feel, right? Do you now have time to do more higher level tasks, right? So it's pretty easy to count the number of widgets coming out of your business or whatever it is, and you know, pin that to certain metrics. But I also think that there's this component of employee satisfaction, right? And that oftentimes can get missed.
Yes.
One of the topics that's kind of out in the AI zeitgeist, if you will, is juniors and analyst work. Like I'm in commercial banking, but I think this goes for attorney and accountants and everything. You know, some of the tasks that we would normally give to a junior is now being automated. And so I'm not a boomer. I feel like the door closed right behind me for people to become, because I can look at it in a spreadsheet and know what's wrong, right? Because I've done it by hand. But I guess from where you're sitting, how are you thinking about kind of that entry level, you know, learning level analyst job?
So again, for the two sides in the video, is AI automating away the entry-level junior position? I know I was an analyst in investment research, and then an analyst in investment banking, and then an analyst in venture capital. So all that training ground, maybe not all of it, but a bunch of that training ground is now being taken away. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a hard question because I think there's just so much data out there that is just conflicting in a lot of these spaces, right? And if anyone has used like the deep research tool, you know, within OpenAI, and Claude has a very similar type thing where, wow, an analyst would have gone out and done hours worth of work, and now you can do it within minutes. So, you know, is that having an impact on jobs? Ultimately, someone still needs to coalesce that, bring that together, and actually sort of put it into a coherent presentation, right? Just think about the other side of it. They could actually use, you know, again, they should leverage AI. People that are in this space should start to leverage AI to get as much data as they can, but then still have that human-to-human interaction. I still believe that organizations need the human-to-human interaction, and they're going to continue to need that as they upskill. I think the other thing is I think if organizations think we're not just going to hire anybody new, well, eventually their workforce is going to age out. Like they actually are going to need these people coming through. And you look at OpenAI is, they're hiring, 1,000 engineers or whatever the heck the number is.
Doubling in size.
OpenAI is doubling in size. This company that is using AI to build their software products is actually hiring people today, right? They see the value of like, we can't just cut this off. So I think it's very short-sighted for companies to say, that's all right, we don't need any interns anymore. We don't need any people that are coming out of school. Because ultimately, frankly, actually, as I'm thinking about this, is they likely will be the ones that are going to use the tool better than you can. Right? I have people in my organization that are 15 years younger than me that are running circles around me because they actually, I think I'm pretty good with tech, right? You look at somebody who's in their late 20s, right? They've got great ideas, stuff beyond what I could even think of. So I think people are very short-sighted, I guess, if they think, we don't need anyone anymore at that young age.
Yeah, I'd also say something else was kind of buried in your question, right? How does somebody come to know the fundamentals? But we've seen this before, right? I'm old enough that a lot of the old guys that were wandering around when I was a young engineer were like, well, you got young guys, you guys don't appreciate numbers because you're not using a slide rule. Right? You've right? Yeah. You've lost touch with the numbers, but I have that because I was actually using the slide rule stuff, right? Well, we got past that pretty good, right? It turned out it wasn't the disaster they all thought it was going to be. Same is true in pure software, right? You can write assembly language, right? And I was taught to write assembly language, and I think, by the way, a lot of people should still experience it, but it's no longer necessary, right? And people haven't really lost anything by not knowing how to write assembly. So we've seen these kind of issues before.
Yeah, I guess my final thought is there's this idea that everyone's going to just be an inch deep and a mile wide. And what I'm seeing in businesses, just as I look at my business and through my career, is you need people that go deep. You need people that actually understand and are craftsmen or craftswomen in whatever their focus is. And so, we're seeing a lot of companies that are just sort of cranking out code, but they still don't understand some of the depth of what's there. And I think people that are coming out of school, they don't have that yet, but they are certainly the ones that are going to pick that up faster than anyone else.
Okay. I know you got a question. I've seen other ones here. Let's hold those. Have you reach out to me, I'll get them answered, or reach out to them. I had a couple of quick things I want to do, kind of lightning round to hit several topics and have it be short. So 1 or 2 sentences, going to pop through a couple of things because I think some of these are important. What's one thing that folks are overestimating about AI right now?
How easy it is to implement and how easy and quickly they can get it done by themselves.
Yeah, that's overestimating, I guess. Yeah, I guess the barrier to entry. They're thinking that it's very, very difficult to do, and it's a matter of just getting started.
Okay.
To it. You just speak to it.
Great job on the timing. Appreciate that. Next one. What's one thing folks are underestimating?
We're on an exponential curve. Humans are terrible at realizing what's happening right underneath us and in front of us. So large language models are now using large language models to build themselves. So you're on a curve that's accelerating, and this is only going to get faster and faster.
Yeah, I guess to sort of as a tangent on that, I guess they're underestimating just the full potential of what's there. That it's while we're talking about languages and stuff, this is applied anywhere in a lot of ways. Images, voice, music. There's a lot of other areas that I think still have yet to be explored with AI.
Good job. Do you have a golden rule for AI?
Don't trust, verify.
All right, we'll come back. How about a favorite metric?
Favorite metric
for assessing success, assessing impact, whatever. Just a favorite metric.
Yeah. Is your life better?
Time saved.
How about a bold market prediction for 3 to 5 years from now?
I think we will all have a assistant that is doing a lot of the grunt work that we used to do. Everything down to sending emails for us, right? Auto replies will happen for us.
I like that one.
Going the other way, a commonly accepted thought, belief, or trend that you don't disagree or that you don't agree with. You know, it's a good question when you stump them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's this fear that, you know, this is going to take over everything and everyone's going to not have a job anymore and you know, we're doomed. I think there's a lot of people out there that are doomsayers in this space, and I don't agree. I very much feel like the creativity and the capabilities of humans and the challenges that we have, we're going to use this tool, and it's going to be much more exciting in the future.
I'll go with that one.
All right, 2 more. What nugget of advice would you give your younger business self?
Get started now.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, how about one thing you want the audience to take away from today's session?
Get started now.
Yeah, and I would say keep experimenting, obviously, with it, yeah, don't be so fearful of it.
All right, it is 1 o'clock. Hope you got a sticker for the parking ramp. Again, May 7th, CEO Succession Planning with the Private Directors Association. Let's say thank you to Justin and Steve.
Thank you.